after having thought about the business model, then the next step is to analyze our business. Once we do the analysis, then we can come to some conclusions, some recommendations, and accordingly we can plan the future business strategy. We'll start with an introduction to SWOT and PEST analysis. So SWOT stands for the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of any company, any organization, as well as for any individual also. So as I have already told you in previous class, that strategic planning or strategic thinking is not limited to business or organizations. We can even implement it in our personal life, as well as for deriving strategies for running an organization, and even at the national level. So every country has its strategies to deal with the other countries, based on which they define their foreign policies. And even internally also, what development agenda has to be followed, what economic policies have to be developed, all these things are basically part of the strategy. So when we talk about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, so they basically identify the internal and external factors that can affect the success of any organization. Now, strengths and weaknesses, they are the internal factors of any company. So that is privy to the company. They know what their capabilities are, they come to know what their weaknesses are, and keeping in mind the strengths and how to capitalize it to cover the weaknesses, as well as to harness the opportunities which exist outside the company or in the market, and to cater to the different threats, handle the different threats which are in the market. So opportunities as well as threats, they are external factors, and strengths and weaknesses are the internal factors. So SWOT analysis basically helps us to identify areas where any organization can improve itself, as well as they also identify areas where they are already very strong and can capitalize that for becoming more effective and powerful in the market and gain a competitive edge. For example, having a strong brand name, a loyal customer base, or a skilled workforce, they are possible strengths. So all the big companies which we know today as companies which are well established, so they basically capitalize their brand name. We can name a number of them. We can go for IBM, HP, Airtel, Jio. So these companies basically utilize their brand name. So whenever they do business, whenever they interact with customers, customer is always well identified with these companies. But all companies do not have a brand name. Some companies who have a differentiating factor like BMW, Mercedes, or even Apple, so they have a loyal customer base. They are sometimes even not bothered about better products outside. So you develop that loyalty in due course of time. Similarly, any company can have a very skilled workforce who are very proficient, who are experts, and they constitute strength of the company. On the other hand, high costs, low quality, or outdated technology, they are some of the possible weaknesses. So there are segments in the society who can afford for some products or services, but majority of the segment is the middle class, lower middle class, and they have to, and even the poor class, so they also have to buy the products. So accordingly, if the product is very high, then a person who does not have that amount of finance cannot afford it. So these are some of the weaknesses. But the weaknesses are from the point of view that what are your target consumers? What are the target segments? As we have seen in the previous class when we developed the business model. There are some like cheap products, Chinese products. So people just want to utilize it for one-time use and throw. For example, some electric items, electronic items, lights during the Diwali or other festivals. People are well aware that these are Chinese products. They may work throughout the night, or they can work for 10 days, or they can even work for 1 year. So the quality. So based on the quality, you have to find out whether my quality supports the expectations of my consumers or not. If not, then that is a weakness for you. Similarly, outdated technology. So if your technology which you are utilizing is not updated, is not with the latest trend in the market, that is also a weakness for you. Further expanding into new markets, launching new products, and forming strategic alliances are some of the opportunities. When we talk about new markets, we can say that AI is a new market, generative AI is a new market, blockchain is a new market. So if somebody wants to expand in these areas, so they are some of the opportunities which exist. But accordingly, you have to work out your business model. So you have to work about the resources, the 9 different components of the business model canvas before thinking about the opportunities. Forming strategic alliances, that is also some of the opportunities, because there are some companies which are providing support in terms of spare parts, in terms of softwares, but they want the partnership with some other companies, like some advisory company, some consulting company, some delivery organizations, so that they can promote their products. So forming strategic alliances is also a good opportunity. For example, in cloud, so we have the Google Cloud, we have the IBM Cloud, we have the AWS, we have the Azure. So all these cloud providers, they are not only directly doing the business, but they have a lot of partners. People partner with them, organizations partner with them, and wherever there is any opportunity which they find out, so they help these cloud providers to get business. Of course, based on mutual consent and mutual understanding on the commission part. Then faced increased competition or changing customer preferences and regulatory changes. These are some of the possible threats. So if we talk about this in specific, so there is a lot of competition in cloud market as well as in data center market. There is not so much competition in AI market as of now, because the technology itself is developing and the workforce is also being built up. So there is a difference. Similarly, changing customer preferences is also very important. Now customer does not want to talk to somebody. He just wants to put some things on a WhatsApp or give a message and wants his problem to be resolved. So for that, you have to go for virtual assistant, chatbots, and other features. Customers also want that you do an assessment from your company itself, what are their problems, rather than they reaching you out to address their problems. So for that, today we do the social media analysis, we do the sentiment analysis, and many things to find out the customer requirement, as well as the understanding the user experience. Similarly, regulatory changes. So for example, recently in last year, I think in August, September, a bill was passed by the parliament related to data protection. So it was called the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. Now that bill basically made a lot of regulatory changes with regard to how data would be handled. And one of the changes was the localization of data. So it envisages that most of the data should be localized within the country. And if it has to transfer outside the country, then also there are some specific rules, regulations which it has to follow. RBI has already issued guidelines that finance related data should reside in the country. Now this is basically an opportunity also as well as threat also for those companies which were doing the business from overseas, which were holding your data or the data of the country outside. So accordingly, a lot of changes have to be done. So there are threats also and opportunities also. Opportunities are coming in form of sovereign cloud. So sovereign cloud is the concept that a cloud which has been developed based on the rules and regulations of a very particular country, and the data within the cloud resides of the boundary of the country. This is just a depiction of how we do the SWOT analysis. So when we do the SWOT analysis, basically we make 4 quadrants. This is a horizontal one. You can also make vertical quadrants. And then we assess the organization or the company. An example is, this is related to an edtech company. So what assets and skills can you bring to this field? You have to list out like high quality content and instructors, large and loyal customer base. So if it's a startup company, it will not have that thing. So that would not count as the strength. But if it is some known company which is going or diversifying its business, then definitely it has a large and loyal customer base. Then a strong brand or reputation as well as recognition. Flexible and convenient delivery node. So you have a big network, a logistic network, you have the telecommunication network. So you have a good delivery mode, and that is also a strength. Then innovative and interactive learning methods. So today there are a lot of learning management tools which are available in the market. So you have smart classes right now where you can annotate, you can do a lot of things. Even you have the augmented reality facilitation, so that myself, you, everybody feels like we are sitting in a same class if we are wearing a AR or VR glasses. So these are some of the strengths. Then the weaknesses. So you have to list out any competency defects which you have in the field in which you are operating. For example, the high production costs and the high fees. So if you have very high fee, like IIMs have launched so many courses, IITs have also launched so many courses, but they are pretty high. So everybody cannot afford. Similarly, limited course categories and languages. So today is an age of large language model where everybody wants to learn things in their native language. So majority of books were earlier available in English. Most of the content was available online in English, but now you can change the language. Most of the websites which are being made, they are being made multilingual based, so that more countries, more people can participate in it, can understand it. Otherwise, apart from UK, US, Europe, like French organizations, French companies, German companies, so if they just transact or do the business in their German or French language, that would be boulder in the path of the progress. Then dependence on third-party platforms and technologies. So many of the organizations today, like tech companies, have their own LMS platform. So if you go for Upgrade or you go for Edureka, so they have their own LMS platform rather than doing things on Zoom and other platforms. So that is also one of the weaknesses if somebody does not have that. And low completion and retention rates. So if you are not able to complete your jobs and you are not able to retain the consumer, that is also one of your weaknesses. Then lack of accreditation and certification. So if you are doing a course, similar course which we are doing, you are going to get a certificate from the IITs. But if similar course is conducted on some other platform or some other organization or tech company says we'll provide our own certification, so I think a lot of people would not consider it. So that is also a weakness. So you can have certifications, you can have partnerships with such companies or such organizations which are well versed in the field of education, and only then you can be a good edtech company and also gain profits. Then opportunities. So for example, we assess the climate of the market. So what is the market? Who are the competitors? So we have to find out the external factors which can benefit our progress or our career path. So accordingly, we can expand into new markets and regions. We can diversify the offerings and formats. We can also leverage social media and influencer marketing. Like Upgrade has taken Amitabh Bachchan as their influencer. So he's doing all the ads, advertisements. Similarly, we have to opportunities to collaborate with the academic and industry partners. So, like many of the big fours are conducting their own classes, own trainings. Like KPMG is providing trainings on a wide variety of topics related to business, marketing, and similarly Deloitte and other companies are also doing similar things. So collaboration with academic and industry partners is also very important, and these are a sort of opportunities. You have to seek out these opportunities. Then incorporate AI and gamification. So nowadays a lot of organizations during their recruitment process also are using the gamification as one of the ways in which they can assess the capabilities and skills of the candidates. Like in EY, I have seen they are using for their global business. Whenever they are recruiting candidates, they ask them to go for a parametric test, which is very free, but it basically gives the results in 14 different skills, how you are performing, and that is no true or false about it. It all depends on the job which you are doing. If you are doing a front end job, then there are sometimes some skill requirements which come out from the parametric test, and anybody can who suits according to that can be selected. Then coming to the threats. So threat actually lists any hazards when you enter to the field. So increasing competition from other online course providers. So everybody is holding a market share of the consumer brand elements, the consumers, the users. A lot of people are willing to learn things at the convenience of their home. So today, if you think about opening an organization where people would physically come and study, so that is an outdated concept. So you have to think about how to go online and how to utilize the different platforms online. Then changing customer preferences. So already we have discussed the same thing. Regulatory and legal issues which exist in online education, what you can teach, what you cannot teach, all these things. Then cyber security and privacy risk. This is something when we go for any online mode, then that also exists. And that has to be catered, because somebody can do the session hijacking. They can gain the insights of your organization. Like you have the meetings today on different platforms. Like Zoom, you have the Microsoft platform, you have the Cisco platform. So you have to think about the privacy also, because if you go for these platforms which are not free, then you have to get licenses and other things. So you have to consider what type of business you are in. Like education, I don't feel that if somebody hijacks the session, that is a threat. But if you go for personal discussions, personal agendas, having partner meetings on some platforms like Zoom, there always exists some sort of a threat. So insider information can be leaked. Then you have the technological disruptions and failures. So if there are a lot of technologies which are supporting, for example, if you do not have apps and you are just supporting on desktops, so that is also one of the problems. So this was just a snapshot of a SWOT analysis of an edtech company. We'll further go into detail. We'll see how this entire process is done. This is just what has to be done, but how we will do the SWOT analysis, we'll cover in future slides. Okay, so next we do a brief understanding on the PEST analysis. So PEST analysis, or PEST, basically stands for political, economic, social and technological analysis. These are external factors that can affect your organization's success. So in SWOT analysis also we had the strengths and weaknesses which were internal, and threats and opportunities were external. So many times a combination of SWOT and PEST analysis is best suited, because the opportunities and threats can very be well complemented with the PEST analysis, because PEST is basically based for assessing the external factors, like what are the political factors, what are the economic factors, are there any social taboos, are there any technological factors which are responsible or which are existing outside, and you require to make adjustments, make your strategies in line with them. So political factors include the government regulations and policies. Then economic factors include the inflation, interest rates, if you want to take loan for your organization. So you have to find out how much money you have to return, how much time it will take, all these things. Then social factors include the cultural trends and demographics. So there are some cultural factors also, social demographic factors also, which dictate whether your business is suited for some particular areas, some particular part of the globe, some particular segment of the society, some particular gender, all these things. Then there are technological factors which include the new technologies and innovation which are right now. For example, today robotics, automation, these are new technologies and innovation which are basically challenging all the organizations who are running on the traditional manpower. So even when we talk about the foreign investments also, many organizations today not try to find out how many human workers you have, they try to find out how many robots can you afford, how many automated processes can you do or you have. Accordingly, they want to invest in your business or company. So PEST analysis can be used to identify the opportunities and threats in the external environment. Examples are tax rates, trade agreements between two countries. So that is very important, because if you are going to operate like US and India, Europe and India, Russia and India, they have some trade pacts. Then you have General Agreement on Trade and Tariff also, GATT. So there are internationally many agreements or pacts or MOUs which are to be studied if you want to go for some global ventures. And accordingly, you have to find out whether you can benefit from it or not. So if you have very high rates, then it's something which you have to work out, because you have to have working on the finance part also. Then environmental regulation. So as you must be aware that today almost every organization, every business, maybe yours, mine, they are focusing on the ESG. So environmental, social, governance. So ESG has become such a buzz term today, and how much carbon footprint you are making, how you can do betterment for the organization, how you can save paper, trees. So these are having effect on the on the overall global pollution, national pollution. So you have to also see whether your company is able to afford for that also, because you sometimes require to have a treatment plant for the waste you are exiting from your business. So you have to take care of all these things. So environmental regulations are very strict, like water effluent, the waste. For that, Pollution Control Board has to visit your organization, see all those things, and they have to give the certificate that yes, you are not polluting the atmosphere, you are not putting some hazardous waste outside or exiting some hazardous waste outside. So these are also factors which have to be taken care of. Then there political stability. For example, in India we have seen 10 years of political stability, and that has actually created a very good environment of domestic investments also, and foreign direct investment also. So a lot of companies like Dassault or some other aviation companies, they are now investing in India. Now the environment is also there, because present government is stressing on Make in India. So Make in India not only helps in improving the employment opportunities for the country, the people of the country, but also they ask other people to make their products in India. Whereas earlier the tax were such that many of the products were built outside, then they had to be imported, and then a lot of import duties and other things were done, and people of the country were not able to work in those organizations. Now the government is basically focusing on this particular aspect, that in order for a good job creation, as well as to have a full control over what is being done, what is being produced, and utilization of the resources from within the country, that would help to boost the economy. So as you have already seen that we are the third big economy becoming, and 3 trillion economy we have already become, and we want to go for 5 trillion economy. So the external factors, these political factors, they are very important. And similarly, when we talk about the economic factors, the economic growth, the consumer spending, how much consumers are able to spend, what are the different segments, then unemployment, currency fluctuations, how frequently your currency is fluctuating. These are some of the economic factors. Further, the population size, the age distribution, income levels, education level, awareness, social norms, these are some of the social factors. Now when we talk about the technological factors, then we have the technological advancements, digitization, automation, AI. These are some of the technological factors. So just as we have seen the SWOT analysis, you can see the PEST analysis also, how it is done. We create 4 quadrants and we list out all the external factors which we have studied, and this is a particular PEST analysis for a new energy vehicles industry. So when they have started this, they just try to find out what is the external opportunities or the threats which are there in the market, and accordingly how to make our strategies and policies ahead. Specifically, when we want to go for the SWOT analysis, then what all we have to do, so we'll now study about those factors. As you are aware that the SWOT analysis is a technique which evaluates the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of any company. It helps to identify both internal as well as external factors that can affect the performance, competitiveness and the potential of the company to grow into the emerging markets, or to grow into the market where there are a lot of competition. Now that we have understood the fundamentals, we'll dive a bit deeper into the SWOT analysis and explore how to conduct a SWOT analysis for a hypothetical company and see how it can be a powerful tool for strategy development. Here are the 6 steps which are required to be carried out when we do the SWOT analysis of any hypothetical company, ABC, XYZ company. So you have to choose a facilitator. Then you have to gather the necessary resources, which are basically data about the business, and that should also be authentic. Then you have to craft a list of inferences using that data. Then compile this information into relevant sections, refine these ideas, and finally draw the SWOT analysis table. So we'll go one by one to understand that. So first step is to choose a facilitator. So facilitator is a person who will lead the SWOT analysis process, and he has to ensure that all the relevant stakeholders of the organization or company are involved in the SWOT analysis. Because if you miss out anything, then you can have to repent later on. So everybody has his own voice, they have their own information, and accordingly that has to be taken care of when we do the SWOT analysis of any particular organization. So facilitator should always be a person who has a good understanding of the company or the project, its goals, and the overall environment. He can be an internal person or an external person, depending on the availability, budget, and objectivity of the company or the project. So you need to understand whether you have the finances so that you can afford somebody from outside, a professional facilitator. Otherwise, you can find out somebody from inside also. Then gather the necessary resources. So resources include all the people or the stakeholders who will participate in the SWOT analysis. They can be the internal employees like managers, employees, customers, suppliers, external partners, competitors, etc. So you have to gather the information about them. So whereas the internal people, managers, employees can be the voice of the organization, the customer and the voice of the customer is also very pertinent when you do the SWOT analysis. Similarly, you have to understand your competitors also. So competitors are not going to join you, they are not going to take part, but for that you have to use the market intelligence. You have to use those tools, the balance sheet, their other news, their collaborations, and from that only you can gather enough information about how to proceed or how to counter your competitors. Then the resources also include the data and information that will support the SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis can not be carried out just based on logical thinking. So it has to be supported by data, and data includes the market research, the financial reports of the company, your company, as well as the external competitors. Then the suppliers which are taking part in your organization as a partner, then partners, competitors, and the customer feedback, the industry trends, how the industry is proceeding, what are the future trends, what are the technological trends. These all resources should be very reliable, relevant, and also up to date. So it's not that you take 1 year before data and you do your SWOT analysis. So it will all go in vain. Then third is you craft a list of inferences using the data. So after you have gathered the data, the facilitator sits on with all the stakeholders, partners, resources, and then analyzes the data. The inferences are basically the statements that summarize the main findings from the data information. So inferences should be very specific, they should be factual as well as verifiable, so that you can go and cross-verify it if you have any suspicion in your mind. And they should be categorized into 4 different sections, which is the strengths of the company, the weaknesses of the company, and opportunities which exist outside, as well as threats. Then we compile this information into the relevant sections, which are 4 sections: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So first of all, you have to identify, list out, and then after listing out, you have to make the grouping of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So information should always be organized in a logical manner and coherent way, so that it makes sense. It gives a visual understanding of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it should not be jumbled. It should not be chaotic, that you give some information earlier, some information. So each and every information should be interlinked, starting from the beginning to the end. So it should be concise and clear, and without any ambiguities or jargons or using words like maybe, we may do this. So these things do not figure out in the SWOT analysis. So you have to have very specific information which can be verified. It should also be measurable. It should also be quantifiable. Then refine all these ideas and suggestions or recommendations that are derived out of the information from each section of the SWOT. And ideas should be such that they are realistic as well as actionable, so that if you know your strengths, you should be able to understand what actions should you take based on the overall scenario. Then idea should also consider an interrelationship between the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities as well as threats. For example, how to leverage your strength to exploit the opportunities which exist outside. How to overcome your weaknesses to avoid any threats. So, for example, if there are threats of cyber security attack, then that is a weakness, and how to overcome that weakness so that you can perform very well and you are pretty sure that your information is safe and secure. So how to minimize the threats. So next is draw the SWOT analysis table. So the table is basically a visual representation of the SWOT analysis that summarize the information and ideas in each section. The table should have 4 quadrants and one for each section. And it should have a title that indicates the name of the company or project and the objective of the SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis can be done when you start a company. SWOT analysis is also done when you are facing some problems, some challenges which you are not able to diagnose, why we are facing, why you are losing market, why consumer is refraining from coming to us. So at that juncture also you have to do the SWOT analysis, and that is a wonderful tool to understand what basically has changed, what external opportunities or threats which we are not able to capitalize, what threats which we are not able to handle, or what strengths and weaknesses we are not able to harness to gain a competitive edge. So doing a you can say brain puzzle or thinking about it in a positive manner definitely brings out the recommendations which can be then utilized to make the course correction. The table should also have a legend that explains any symbols and abbreviations used within the table. So these are 2 examples of SWOT analysis. These were freely available from the internet. I have taken, like Coca-Cola company or the Airbus. Okay. Practical examples of SWOT analysis or strategy development. So if you take a case like a restaurant owner wants to increase its sales and customer satisfaction. So what they should do? So they conduct a SWOT analysis and find out their strengths. Like strengths are very delicious food, they have a friendly staff, loyal customers, but their weaknesses are the limited menu, their high overhead costs, and outdated decor. So the ambience of the environment is also very necessary when you have a restaurant or any workplace. So it should draw your attention, it should have positive vibes, and it should be soothing your eyes. When you sit there, you should have a wonderful and pleasing experience. So these were some of the weaknesses. The opportunities are the growing demand for healthy and diverse food options. So this is some opportunity at how to make food which is sugar free, which is suited for BP patients, which is suited for kidney patients. So if somebody is working in a restaurant, he can plan out or chalk out a menu according to the dietary plans of some individuals who normally do not visit restaurants just because of this, because they contain the generic sort of ingredients and inputs. Okay, then the availability of online delivery platforms. These are also opportunities like Swiggy, Zomato. So they have helped a lot of organizations to come into the mainstream, and the organizations also could understand how we can reach the customer. They can see the competitive analysis, what are the rates of other restaurants and menus, what are the menus there, what products should be offered, what are the most of ordered products, all these things. Then the potential for catering big events. So the restaurant owner also understood that there is a big opportunity for doing events like managing big meetings, managing workshops, some training, some sort of event management which they can do. So for that they have to partner with some event management company. So things come out as soon as you get to know about the various opportunities, threats, or strengths and weaknesses. You start to brainstorm, and when you do the brainstorming, then you come to know about the different ways in which you can connect things and you can join the dots. Similarly, the threats are increasing competition from other restaurants. The rising food prices are also a threat. The changing customer preferences. So many young people are wanting fast foods, pizza, Italian, German, Swedish. So people want everything at their doorsteps right now. So that is also a threat. So if you go on for traditional things, giving puri, sabji, halwa, that may be having a segment, but it would not be able to cater you to sustain your business. So this is one of the case study, a small case study. So based on the SWOT analysis, they can develop strategy that leverages their strengths to exploit their opportunities, such as adding more healthy and diverse dishes to their menu, partnering with online delivery platforms to reach more customers, and offering catering services for the events. They can also develop a strategy to overcome weaknesses by avoiding the threats, such as reducing their overhead costs by optimizing their operations, renovating their decor, making a good ambience for people who physically visit the restaurant to attract more customers, having some painting, some feel-good lighting, all these things. And they can also do a customer survey and understand the preferences and satisfaction. So customer also feels important when he visits if they are given the choice to give a survey. The survey should not be very long, but at the end of the survey, you can provide some incentive to them, some chocolate, something like that. So these are some of the things which are really required to do the SWOT analysis.